as per my Blockbuster update the other day about my sudden unemployment, right? About my termination from a 3 month flipping contract, right? Absolutely hilarious situation to be in. Kind of hilarious, but not hilarious. Also kind of embarrassing in its own way. But one thing I've been thinking about since I've been kind of meditating, marinating, mulling over that, situation and how it kind of transpired is the feeling. Honestly, I don't know how people can describe it or if others have had the same thing, but because I guess it's been a long time since I've ever felt inadequate because, I've kind of had this very um, grandiose vision of myself. I sometimes think to myself, I don't know, I sometimes have these very delusions of grandeur thoughts in my head, right? Let's just leave it at that. I won't just bore you with some of the thoughts I have in my head, but sometimes I think very, very highly of myself. So it's also quite nice, I feel like, because I'm always a believer in contrast. I'm always a believer in yin and yang. So I do like the fact that I have this belief in myself in one respect, but then I do like sometimes the universe or people outside of myself having the opposite of impression of me, or the opposite thinking, or the opposite idea, or the opposite view. It's quite nice. It's quite interesting to see that friction occur in real life. So it was quite interesting to see myself be put in a position where I was made to feel in that place because I was doing very badly, clearly, and I wasn't meeting the standards that they needed in terms of closing tickets, in terms of answering tickets, opening tickets, knowledge, all these type of things I was very short on. It was really interesting to see myself being put in a position where I was being ostracized and I was being kind of treated poorly and badly by some of the senior management, I wasn't some of my colleagues, so they weren't really my colleagues really, because I'd count my colleagues as the people that I came in with, the 5 interns I sort of like started with, quote unquote, or the 5 people that we started temping together with because it was a temporary position of only 3 months. So those 5 people I was with, they're fucking mint and they know who they are. Or the 4 people I was with, they were incredibly good crew, love them, amazing kids, and they're all gonna smash it. I'm sure out of the 4, probably 3 will get given full-time jobs there, maybe 2, I'm not too sure, but regardless, they're gonna kill it. There was the people who worked there outside of that, who were in my team, who were a little bit, cunty. I'd probably say, let's say 2 or 3 of them were a little bit cunty. And it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see that play out in real time, because I've never been in my day-to-day life, I've never made to feel like I'm inadequate. I don't ever feel inadequate. Any situation I'm in, I always feel like I can kill it in a room. I always feel like I'm able and capable. I always feel like with the right amount of training or right amount of time, information, I can get something quickly. Like I've never ever feel like I'm less than. But in that position, for once in my life, for once in my blood clot life, in that position, I was suddenly starting to feel like, oh, maybe this idea I have of myself isn't really what it's all cracked up to be, right? Maybe I'm kind of maybe I gas myself up a bit too much. Maybe it isn't really what I think it is, That's basically what I was thinking in real time. Yeah, it was an interesting feeling to play out in real time, to see people treating you weirdly or treating you differently based on you not doing well, perceived, in their perception, you're not doing well in a particular job. And it was also strange to be made to feel like you weren't as smart as everybody else, which maybe was the truth. Even though I feel like that particular role was in a sort of area that I probably was never going to excel in, because it's one of my kind of, it's one of the places in my sort of like education, academic life that I've always struggled. Numbers and statistics and accounting, all that sort of stuff. I've always kind of struggled in that sort of regard. So really and truly, I feel like being the guy that I am, I probably should. And I think I've had the thought. I've had the thought for a while, actually. I've had the thought for a very long time. Maybe like I'm gonna say maybe more than 10 years. I've had this thought that I should maybe go to Amazon or online and find like books and stuff, or just online courses where I can kind of just sprouse up my mathematics and my general math skills and accounting skills, whatever it may be, just so I have a grip on that sort of stuff, because I feel like that's been always a pain point of mine, and I've kind of avoided it by fully jumping into the creative end, right? By being incredibly creative and having all these ideas. I feel like I've done it on purpose to make me get away from the numbers and stuff. But if I ever want to run my own business, if I ever want to own my own home at one point, if I ever want to move country, if I ever want to, I don't know, buy merch or make products, whatever I want to do, I'm going to have a handle on money anyway. You know what I mean? I can't just always be hiring help and get people to, people might fleece you, they might, feg you over and stuff. So I should be kind of trying to fill in that kind of learning gap, that learning kind of blank space that I have. But it was interesting to see that space or that place that I've been avoiding for a while, the thing that I've kind of been neglecting and I've been burying my head in the sand because of the thing that I've been brushing under the carpet, the thing that I've been purposely ignoring, it did come back to bite me in the ass, because I was reminded, oh shit, this is the reason why you shouldn't avoid these type of things. You should maybe attack it head on. Because if I would have attacked it head on, if I would have maybe bought some of those, like, autodidact home learning, adult learning books about maths and stuff and accounting and taxes and all this malarkey and finance in general, maybe it would have helped me. Maybe it would have helped me in a position, and maybe I wouldn't have been as, maybe I wouldn't have been as shaky as I was when I was in there, because I noticed after, like I said in the previous episode, I noticed after the first week I was fucked. And it wasn't just because I was sleeping in training, it's because I was literally sitting there doing my, and this is, I don't deserve pats on the back for this, but this is probably one of the only jobs I've had in the time that I've had it where I was not late once. I always came with a smile on my face. I was always staying for all the after work things. I think I attended basically every after work gathering that happened there, with the exception of the building's Christmas party that happened on like a Tuesday, which I didn't go to. I don't think anyone in our company went to. I made myself available for all the, extracurricular activities. I rarely used my phone. I'm sure some of you probably saw in my socials, I was rarely on my social at the time. So I really put myself in to learn. And I was sitting there and I'd be like opening my eyes. I'd be having cups of coffee, water. I'd have good breakfasts. I'd go to the gym in the morning. I'd sleep pretty well. And I'd be trying my darndest to kind of just soak it in. I remember sitting there after a week just looking at the screen, looking at the whiteboard as the guy was trying to go through what they were going through, doing the training. And again, I could never fault the company, because there were 5 of us that started this kind of temporary 3-month position, and the rest of them, the 4, are excelling and doing well. I'm the only one that failed and had to get kicked out. Do you know what I mean? I had to get let go. So clearly I'm the problem. But I remember just sitting there thinking, wow, I've done everything. I've come on time, I'm prepared, I have my notepad, I have my water, I have my coffee, I'm attentive, my eyes are open, I got a big smile on my face, and I just can't, it's just not clicking. It's not it's not working. I'm sitting there trying my hardest and it's just not working. And there was a point in time where I did this other thing too, where I'm ashamed to say, I did try and send, and it wouldn't let me send it because obviously they have some sort of firewall stuff. And I did try to send myself some of the slides that they had that were showing during the training. So they had some of these Google Sheet slides and stuff, and some, assets on Notion that I could read and understand things on. So I tried to send some of that stuff to myself, so I could just read it in my off time. So I maybe read it before I went to work for an hour and read it after work for an hour. But even then I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. There's 8 hours of work. I should be able to get it in 8 hours. I shouldn't need an extra hour or 2 hours outside of work to understand what I'm doing. That's ridiculous. So I thought, no, fuck that, leave it. Even though it didn't work anyway. I think a couple of them come through, the other them didn't really come through because they've got some sort of, security setting about sending files out, sending, I guess, company files to an email that isn't the company's, which probably, I don't know if that would have got me in trouble, but I was just trying to learn. That didn't work. So I was like, no, I have to figure it out. I have to figure it out in 8 hours. So I sat there, tried to figure it out, and it just wasn't clicking. It was such a weird feeling, man. It just wasn't clicking. And I think the only kind of conclusion I can come away from with this sort of thing is you have to address your pain points. You have to address your weaknesses. It's almost like a footballer, right? You avoid practicing on your left foot because your right foot is so good. But there might be an occasion for your team, whether it's a chance that you need to score to keep you in the league, a chance you need to score to get you to the final, a chance you need to score to basically ease the pressure on the manager that's under pressure, a chance you need to score to win a trophy. But there'll be an occasion where all the time that you use your right foot, there'll be a time where you have a chance on your left foot. And if you don't practice on your left foot, that chance that you get, you're going to fluff it. So I think that's what I got. I got that sort of karmic retribution, in that I never wanted to address my pain points and my lack of understanding or, ability to get maths and stuff for a long time. And in the end, it ended up kicking me in the butt or biting me in the ass many years later. it ended up many years later kind of bites me in the ass. So it's something that I've definitely have to take heed on, and definitely something I need to address and kind of go back to a drawing board and make sure that I plug in that kind of that gap, because it's something that's been affecting me for the longest time. Like even with little things like, you know, I'm in a store buying things and I'll pull out my fucking calculator to add up the most minor of things, you know, to subtract the minus of things, to think of, you know, to figure out the minus of fractions, the minus of percentages. Like it's not good. Do you know what I mean? Because of my lack of maths, just I don't even try and activate it. I'll just straight away go to my phone. I'll straight away go to Google. I'll straight away go to ChatGTP to solve these math problems that I should be able to answer pretty quickly. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not really figuring it in my head quickly. So I think that ended up kind of biting me in the ass, unfortunately. And yeah, man. As I said, it's obviously a good thing long term, but there's no denying it is pretty shameful. It is pretty embarrassing to be, you know, getting let go from a 3-month role after the first month because they can't literally trust you to go into the second month and work from home. Is a bit mad. But I also have to say, the treatment I got towards the end, bro, God almighty, man, they were treating me like I was really the black sheep. Like my card was marked. I think some people in that office probably knew I was going to get let go probably a week before it happened. Do you know what I mean? Because they were not really trying to give me any fucking love, really rarely even looking at me when I asked them a question, took it to me with mad disrespect and stuff, like I'm mumbling underneath their breath, just being very obtuse, very kind of standoffish. One of the managers, we went to a dinner once, right? We went to a dinner before I left, right? This is one of the maddest things. We went to a dinner. We had this dinner we had because the team from Spain came over, and they took them to dinner. So we went and joined, right? It was like a lunch dinner thing. We went to this place, and at the dinner, I unluckily was on the table where it was just the Spanish people, a lot of them there, and they didn't really speak that much English. And one of the managers from my team, and that was it. So just me and him and the Spanish people. And I swear to God, he did not speak to me once properly throughout the whole entire time we were there. And obviously they couldn't really speak to me, the Spanish people, because they couldn't speak that much English. But he didn't really speak to me once the entire time. And I was thinking, hold on, should I make an effort and try and like join in with this conversation? Like, nah, fuck this. I know what's going on. So I just sat down on my phone the whole time. The food came at 8. I just sat down on my phone, looked into the distance for an hour, and then when it was over, stood up and went, you know? And imagine that happening where people are like not talking to you at that company meeting. So it's probably for the best. It's probably for the best they ended, because, you know, there was meant to be a Christmas dinner happening soon. Imagine going to a Christmas party with your, like, imagine going to a Christmas party knowing full well the week after you're probably going to get let go. You know, that's a mad place to be at. So probably for the best that it worked out the way it did. And yeah, man, what can you do? It is what it is. It is what it is.